I was looking at this topic, and I think a lot of people would have witnessed it, but might not know what to call it. So tell us, what is sad phishing?
Sad phishing, it's one of those things where we have seen it in real life, we've seen it in the analog world, but we've only been able to put a name on something that we have seen in the online world. So in 2019, it was a term coined by Rebecca Reed. She was a journalist who had seen Kendall Jenner post really vulnerable content about her struggles with debilitating acne. And everyone was commenting and liking it and sharing it. And there was a lot of traction being gained by this post about the vulnerability and how brave she was. 2 days later, there was a brand partnership with a skincare company announced by Kendall Jenner. So sad phishing is where online vulnerable content is posted, but it's not all that it seems, and it's done with ulterior motives.
Okay.
So are people simply doing it to gather clicks, sympathy, attention, all of that? Is that the main purpose?
Or to capitalise even?
Yeah.
Like any human behaviour, it's more complex than that, Darren. So sad phishing can, it can evolve from personal, individual factors. So we might know somebody who might typically do it, even within our friends group or our extended friends group, where we'll see that there's often a lot of drama. And it can come down to individual differences like their attachment style. So somebody who may have an anxious attachment style might feel insecure in relationships and might seek reassurance, might seek validation, and no better place than doing that online. There can also be, like in Kendall Jenner's case, that, putting stuff out to the online world really, from the algorithm itself, generates a lot of traction, a lot of engagement. And that itself can be very reinforcing for somebody who might be looking for that kind of, pick-me-up. So the vulnerable content really gets picked up, but it after a while, it mightn't be looking for help. It might just be looking for engagement.
Okay,
that's
engagement or attention. So what is the difference between seeing someone that is sad phishing to seeing someone that is being completely genuine and maybe vulnerable online? What's the difference?
It's a really good question. And because sad phishing is such a new phenomenon, there's been very little it's very early stages of psychological research into this. But Digital Awareness UK looked at this and they found, firstly, that for teenagers between the ages of 11 and 16, they found, because sad phishing was taking up so much online noise, that it was more difficult for them to actually seek genuine help, mental health help, because there was so much noise and so much posting that was questionable. They also found that, where people are not looking for help, that's a real sign that, okay, maybe, they're not looking for genuine help or there's not genuine concern here. In fact, there's some ulterior motive happening. There's somebody looking for attention. The other part is if you offer to move it offline, if you kind of take it towards a more, let's say it's a friend of yours and you see something on Facebook or on TikTok and you text them and they might say something like, but did you not see my post?
Oh, okay.
The other aspect of it is that their context mightn't be given. So you've heard that term, you okay, hon?
Yes.
There's podcasts made about it now as well.
You okay, hon?
Yeah, and there's real cryptic messages posted out around that. So where you're seeing sad phishing, quite often there's a lack of context given. That people aren't divulging enough, but there's a huge emotion behind that post. So you can see that where somebody isn't looking for help, they're not taking it offline, and there's a huge emotion without much context.
So when we talk about the response of, are you okay, hun, in the messages, how should we respond to a sad phishing post, especially when we know it's sad phishing?
Very good.
When you want to call someone out, maybe.
Kat, you got the good questions today, Darren.
Yeah,
really good question. And I, like I said to you at the start, this is taking analog behaviour. What I mean by that is like real life behaviour into a digital world. So you can imagine Darren waking up in the morning, opening up his bedroom window, shouting out to everyone in the apartment block, guys, I'm having a really bad day and everyone's, causing me hassle, right? Yeah. And he was genuinely looking for help. The last thing he wants to hear is somebody roaring over there, like, tell us all about it, what's going on? So he's broadcasting it to the world. Somebody with genuine concern who's looking to support their friend will probably knock on their door and say, look, do you want to have a cup of tea? Do you want me to offer you help? Do you want me to connect you with people who can offer you genuine help? Do you want some advice? So there's a difference there between the two. And quite often that's what you're looking for.
Because, I mean, the term sad fishing itself feels very kind of on trend, right? It's kind of catchy. But I'm presuming that actually underneath it, and from what you said here this evening, it can be masking or, you know, taking attention away from someone who's got really serious psychological issues. So what are the long-term effects for someone who's perhaps engaging in sad fishing?
It can be just a symptom of something else going on. So there can be, actually one of the interesting findings was that intoxication, somebody being drunk or having a few drinks or is something that impacts upon them. So there's a correlation between that anxiety, that the depression, intoxication, personality types as well, where you're looking for that attention. And like I mentioned earlier on, an anxious attachment style have been found to be correlated with this. That doesn't mean that it causes sad fishing, nor does it mean that sad fishing causes those, because we're at a very early stage of research. But there is that vulnerability that's there because so much noise, and people get very cynical when they see something like Kendall Jenner doing something like that, you know, and there's a famous one on LinkedIn where a person posts they fired 200 staff and they posted a selfie of them crying, saying it's so hard on me to fire that many staff. Of course, they got slated for it, and rightly so. But where you're seeing vulnerable content posted and it's disingenuous, it does make people feel more cynical. So always the advice is to take it off the online world, particularly not shouting out your window and engaging in that conversation.
So even sending someone a message and saying, listen, I saw your post. Are you all right? How are you doing? Like, do you need a hand?
Yeah, where you're seeing that it's genuinely looking for help.
Okay, and last but not least, are there any intervention strategies? You mentioned before you can knock into a friend. Is that something you'd recommend in terms of intervention? Definitely.
Where you're taking it from the offline or from the online world, and particularly where it's a public forum, if it's somebody... Now, rule number one of online content, you do not have to engage with everything or anything you see online. So if it is someone who's famous, whose posts you can clearly see that it's sad fishing, you do not need to engage in that conversation for your own well-being in particular.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody that you're genuinely connected with, that you love, that you care about, take it offline.
Yeah, that's good advice there.
And I guess you'd be able to spot it by the amount of time someone's doing it as well.
Correct. If there's a pattern and it's habitual.
Love that. Okay, thank you very much, Pádraig.
Yes.